You ready to start?
Pardon?
You ready to start? Okay. Good morning. My name is Meg Soni. Welcome to Orchard Park Secondary School, home of FRC Team 2056. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I would like to introduce our next speaker, Al Douglas from Team 4903, presenting Evaluating Team Resources. Over to you.
Thank you for attending today. I know there's a lot of competition at this time slot, so we'll try to make this interesting. Let's go around the room first, hear where people are from and what your role is, I guess.
I'm Michelle Rigo. I'm from Team 9098 Firehawks.
Okay, great.
Right. My name is Zahir. I'm from Team 9562, and I'm basically their draft coach and mentor.
Okay.
My name is Bernice. I'm from Team 1015, and I'm
Okay. Okay.
My name is Alice. I'm from Team 3161. I'm Chief.
Okay.
I'm Dave. I'm from 2935 Napier Robotics, lead mentor.
All right.
He is matching stand with that.
So from Critical Circuits, right? All right. And okay, and one more. Where are you from?
Oh, Team 9098, Dennis, and
All right, 9098 is actually in my presentation, so it's
I'm the
interesting.
better half too, so.
Am I late? Come right in. All right. What you need to say, what your name is and where you're from.
I'm William from Markham,
And what team?
7902.
All right. All right, so we're going to talk about resources today. So who I am, my name is Al Douglas. I am a strategy mentor with 4903. That's the Vincent Massey Mustangs from Windsor, Ontario. We left at 5 in the morning this morning to drive up here. When I go to events, that's what I look like. I kind of dress like a clown. Professionally, I'm an electrical engineer. I used to work in the automation and robotics industry. I now teach robotics at St. Clair College in Windsor. As far as first, I'm an FRC mentor and event volunteer. I also volunteer with FLL. I used to be a coach with FLL, and I'm an event volunteer with FTC as well. And I'm also an FRC parent as well. So our team, this is what our team looks like. We work out of a public school. We have approximately 50 students, so that's what we had last year on our team. Maybe about 10 mentors, kind of fluctuates a little bit, somewhere between 10 and 12 mentors altogether. 4 of those are teachers at the school. So we have a lot of mentors. We typically go to one local event, which is the Windsor event. We go to that one every year. And then we will travel to 2 events. So one of the district events, and then typically going to provincials if we do well. We typically have traveled by bus in the past. We stay in hotels. We typically take about 40 students on one of these trips with us. So that's kind of the way that we operate for comparison. So what is a resource? So if you think about it, you might come into your head. You've got a sheet there that actually lists all the things we're going to talk about. So you can cheat or look at that and look at that. But before you can wisely manage your resources on your team, you first need to understand what we actually mean by your team's resources. This is basically anything you have a finite amount of, and you need to be conscious of during your build season and your just general FRC season. So what are some of these resources that you might have available or not have available to your team? So we are going to go through these today. We're going to try to evaluate how your team stacks up with resources, and then how that should actually shape what you're trying to do as a team. So number one, we talk about resources. Number one thing first thing comes to your mind probably is money, right? So this is an expensive activity. Okay, let's not joke about that. It is expensive. You got to pay your registration fees. I haven't even looked. I know $8,800 last year. I'm not sure what it is this year. That gets you your events, You got to pay for travel. You got to pay for robot parts, your shirts and buttons, stuff like that. All kinds of other expenses you're going to have. It's an expensive activity to do. Everyone nodding their heads. They know, at least the mentors are nodding their heads. They know that. So what we're going to do, I want to have you try to evaluate your team's resources. So if you have that paper, you have a pen, try to evaluate. We're going to do a score 1 through 5 of where you think your team stacks up in each of these categories. So for money, give yourself a 5. You've got unlimited money on your team. There are some teams that live in the unlimited money world. We'll look at some examples of that in a little bit. Give yourself a 4. You've got enough money, but you actually need to work to get it. Okay, so that actually takes time away from other things to get that money. Number 3, you work at fundraising, but you still can't raise everything you need, and that limits what you can do. So you would like to go to a third event, but you can't because you don't have the money. You'd like to go to an off-season event, but you can't because you don't have the money. So does money actually limit what you're able to do? Give yourself a 2 if that limits what you can do and fundraising takes a lot of time away from other activities that you could be doing, like building your robot. So if money is a constant worry and it's really draining what your team can actually accomplish during the season. And then 1, if you are in a constant crisis and you can barely afford to do this and you are in a constant mode of, we might not be here next year, or we might not be able to compete this year. Okay? Give yourself a 1 through 5 on that. Next thing we're going to look at, the students. You need to have enough knowledgeable, experienced students that allow you to complete your tasks. If you don't have enough, you don't have enough people to get things done. And if you have lack of knowledge and experience, this means you have to spend more time teaching and learning during the season. So we're just going to do a 5, 3, or 1 here. 5, you've got enough students to do the work. They're knowledgeable and they're experienced. A 3, they're knowledgeable and experienced, but you might not have enough of them. You're a very small team and it's difficult to get things done. Or you've got enough students, but they lack in experience and knowledge. Okay? So one of those 2 categories. Give yourself a 3 there. Give yourself a 1 if you've got a small team, not enough students, and they lack experience. Okay? So give yourself a number there, 5, 3, or 1. Next one, your mentor group. Having enough knowledgeable, experienced mentors allows you to complete your tasks. Too few, you don't have enough. Lack of knowledge, experience. This works very much like the students that we looked at. Again, 5, 3, 1, 5. They have knowledge, they have experience, and you've got a lot of them. 3, you've got knowledge and experience, but you don't have enough mentors. Or you've got a ton of people that are willing to help, but they lack in experience. And 1, you're lacking in both areas. Not enough, and they don't have the knowledge experience. Okay, rate your team there. The third one here, build facilities and tools. What facilities, tools, materials do you have available to build your robot? That could be at your school, could be at wherever you meet, could be at a parent's place or a sponsor's facility or something like that. Where are you building your robot? You have everything you need. You look around here, you'll probably see they're pretty well equipped at this school, right? So we'll go 5 through 1 here again. So you're at a well-equipped shop and it's actually on site where you work, which is really convenient. You've got things like CNC, 3D printing, all those types of things, other advanced manufacturing equipment. This is the one area where our team, we actually probably are 5 on this. We're really good at the manufacturing side. We have all this right at our school, okay? Give yourself a 4 if you've got access to these things, but you don't have them on site. Maybe you have a sponsor that does these types of things for you. So it's available, but not as convenient if you actually had it on site yourself. Give yourself a 3. You have a shop on site, but you don't have the advanced manufacturing type stuff. Okay, so you're using basic tools, but you do have them on site. A 2, you've got basic tools and access to them, but not on site. And then 1, you've got really limited access to your tools and things like that. Yes?
So how would you rate if you have access to like maybe a CNC, but not like the lathes or mills? Like you have basically like half that equipment. Like, would it be like 4 of them?
I guess, does it prevent you from doing what you're trying to do?
No.
Because a lot of stuff now, things have changed so much that you probably can get away with, if you got CNC and you got 3D printing, you could probably manufacture pretty much everything you need with just those things. Probably lathing and milling, probably not as important as it was 2 or 3 years ago, right? So maybe you're a 5 on there. If it doesn't limit you, give yourself a 5. Okay? We're just looking at rough numbers here. How about practice facilities? How are you going to practice with your team? This is an area our team struggles with. We basically have a classroom with a carpet in it. Okay? Last year, we couldn't practice a full field auto if we wanted to. Like we could do the 3 notes in close. We would not be able to practice going out to the center line to practice an auto. We just didn't have the space for it. Even to practice a 4-piece auto, we had to turn our whole setup sideways to be able to be wide enough to do that. Okay? We don't have that. In the Rapid React year, we made a low goal robot. I don't think we would have had the facilities to be able to shoot high goal where we practice in our school. Okay? I don't know how we would have accomplished that if we were trying to actually practice shooting into the high goal. Okay? So what do you have here? Now, Hamilton area, so I know a lot of you are from here, you guys crush everybody in Ontario in this area because you have what? Exactly. This is something that Windsor does not have. We wish we did, and we are always going to lag behind in practice capability to the Hamilton area teams because of that. That is a massive, massive advantage. Okay? Does anyone recognize this building? Has anyone ever gone on this tour in Houston? That is 118 Robonauts. That's their building. They do a tour for teams at the Houston Championships. That is a ridiculous space in there. Okay, full field, full shop. Some of our team went there a couple years ago when they went to Houston. Amazing place to work, and you can see that's how you get all those banners when you have that type of support and facilities. So if you've got access to a full field on site, give yourself a 5. If you've got some field elements on site, give yourself a 4. You've got access to these things in a shared facility or something like that, but you need to pack up your robot and travel somewhere else to do it, give yourself a 3. If you've got limited access to practice space, give yourself a 2. If you have not even considered how you're going to practice, that's something a lot of teams overlook. How are we even going to practice what we're doing? Give yourself a 1 on this. Last year, we never built the chain for climbing. 2 years ago, we never built the charge station for balancing on the charge station. Okay, we didn't even accommodate for those things in our practice ability. How is your cooperation between your school and sponsors? How well do you get along with that? How's that relationship? So if your school and organization is very supportive, give yourself a 5. I know this is another thing, Hamilton area. My understanding, school board very supportive in this area, or at least historically it has been. Somewhat supportive, a 4, kind of neutral, 3. If you have a difficult time managing those relationships, give yourself a 2. Or if there's a lot of barriers in place that affect other areas of performance for your team, give yourself a 1. Okay, see some smirking going on here. All right. Good. And the last one, time. How much time do you actually have to spend on your robot? So we're going to go 5, 3, 1 here. Give yourself a 5. Students and mentors, frequent meetings, And your first event is not week 1, it's a little bit later into the season. Give yourself a 3. If you have some limited time constraints with your students and mentors, you can't meet as often as you would like, or if you have a very early season event and you need to have your robot ready faster and you've kind of put a false time limit on yourself. Give yourself a 1 if you're facing both of those challenges. Okay, early season event and you're compressed for how often you can meet. Okay, so that should be all of our categories, I think. Add up your score and figure out where you fit in here. And then let's hear some numbers. It'll be interesting to hear the mentor versus student comparison here. All right, who wants to share numbers? Yes,
29.
said
29.
29, really?
So I wrote 22. And
Okay.
Teresa wrote 31.
Okay, yeah. Who else? And you guys are new, so
That's great.
yeah. What do you think? Okay,
What did you get?
Oh,
Firehawks?
We actually,
I got 24.
so did I.
Okay,
I have 29.
okay,
I have 23.
okay.
I have a 28.5.
28, okay. You got a 0.5 in there, okay. All right, so this is how I would kind of break that down. If you're over 30, you're probably in the high resource range. Medium, the 20 to 30. If you're under 20, you're probably in the lower resource range. All right, so what does all this mean? What are your areas of strength? Who wants to share an area of strength that they have? They think, where does someone score high? Yeah,
We scored pretty high in school/organization cooperation.
Okay.
Our principal's been pretty supportive with our team.
okay,
And so that leads to easier relations. Yeah.
okay. Anyone else? Yeah,
Mentor and build facility is, we got a bunch of alumni come back now. We built a pretty good shop over the last couple of years.
okay. Are you guys school?
So,
Okay, and you're all doing all that right inside the school?
Yep.
Do you have a good tech program in your school?
no, absolutely garage.
Okay, but you're running robots in your school absent of that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, also build facilities. We have CNC 3D printer, a lot of like different installs. and stuff.
Okay, great. Yeah,
We have a really good school and organization cooperation. Like our school board came to our last event, actually over here, and
Okay.
they're very supportive of us. And like all the trustees and everything want to more money. And then also we have a good built facility. We just got a room. It's about the same size as the engine. The room that 26 practices in is about the same size. It
Okay.
was a full way room we just gave to us. So
really?
yeah, so it's nice people do it there now. So
That's cool.
yeah.
That's good. All right, who wants to share an area of weakness? Yeah, money, okay. My next question is gonna be, we'll throw out some first. Anyone else got an area of weakness? Yeah,
Mentor availability.
mentor availability.
Back, but 98% of the time it's just me.
How many mentors does your team have,
So on paper, we've got like 4. Two
right?
of them go to McMaster as our students there. One of them helps with the paperwork, so for bills, technical, all that. Just me.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, same thing. Lacking in mentor resources. We have 2 mentors on the team, including myself, who are reasonably committed. And then also we don't have the best manufacturing knowledge among students. It's exclusively having tech programs. So
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah,
I think also mentor availability because our mentor, he's very committed during build season, but during off season, like a lot of mentors, they have to do their thing so that they can save time for build season.
okay,
So we have like students who are less, like, I guess, like the education during off season isn't that.
okay, so one main mentor during the rest of the year? Okay,
Our team just suffers a lot from time because we work in the back of a code ninja, which means we only get build time from 4 to whenever, like late at night.
Okay.
On the weekends.
all right. So hearing these things, does anyone throw out some suggestions? How could people improve some of those areas of weaknesses we just heard? Anyone off the top of your head? Yeah,
So for us, we build basically across the street from Mac, Nebraska University.
Okay,
So one area that we're at least considering for this year, we have to do one of the resources before yet, but to create an alumni organization there. So that our students who end up going to that school can form a club at that school that helps support us. A similar thing was done with Western End.
okay.
We ended up working really well for the one year.
It's funny you mentioned that. We just, at St. Clair College, we just formed an FRC alumni club yesterday. Just ratified the club. So that's something we're gonna try to do robot in 3 days this year. So
Awesome.
hoping to do that. So, yeah, anyone else? Money. If anyone can solve the money problem, everyone would love to hear that. Just general fundraising, I
Mentor,
guess.
talking about mentor problems, alumni is huge. It's getting one or two students come back every couple of years.
Yeah.
Changes everything.
That's one thing with our team. We're just getting to the point now where we have alumni coming back. Like we have a programming mentor now who's an alumni coming back to help. That's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing with the mentor availability. We have alumni coming back. And also because we've been pretty successful for the past 2 years. So like alumni are more invested in helping us out.
Okay.
I would say mentoring is our strongest suit at our school, but the way that we're tackling the money problem, which always exists, unless you're in the US and you can get Department of Defense grants, but we're trying to mobilize the kids. We're in our third year now, so we're experimenting with new registration fee structures that really incentivize the kids to go out and get more mentors, and then sponsors is what I mean to say. Thank you. We're trying to really give them the real resources to be able to go out and do that. So I've been in sales for a lot of years, so to me it's part and parcel with what I do in my career. So equipping them with all the tools to be able to go out and get those sponsorships has been beneficial so far, and we expect it to just kind of grow each year. So that's we basically mobilize. Everyone's wearing multiple hats. The students are also salespeople. They got to go out there and find those sponsorships.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so for basic areas, this is mostly just student training. So since we are trying to establish a more like concrete work method of like assigning projects and assigning essentially just like ways of letting current existing students mentor and train the newer students who just joined this year. We're trying to establish that, and like specifically with manufacturing and with like software and all that stuff that they don't really have hands-on experience. We're trying to develop a program for them basically. So
Okay.
I'd say that our weakness with money is our team's very tech focused. Everybody just wants to do tech, and there's very little focus on doing sponsorship. So we've been surviving mostly on grants and long-term large sponsors.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So being a low resource team or a medium resource team does not mean you're not going to be successful. But not understanding your resources is going to lead to problems. The key is understanding what your team's capable of and designing and building a robot that is within those limitations. So this is where I get to talk about my team and how we do not follow these rules at all. So this is our orange line here is our history. I've been involved heavily with the team since 2018, which is right here. And this is from Statbotics, this is EPA. So you can see we've had some good years and some bad years. Our best one was 2023. Last year, huge drop off. So we've had peaks and valleys. 2018, we won a banner. 2019, we were a playoff team at the championship. 2020, built a bad robot, but we did get to compete. A lot of teams didn't. 2022, we didn't win a playoff match all year. We didn't get to playoffs at provincials. 2023 was our best year ever. We got to division finals at provincials, and we were a playoff team at champs. We were on an alliance with 2056 and 254 and 27. That's crazy alliance. They had about 150 banners between them. We had 2. And then last year, we only won 1 playoff match all year. So we went from that to that. So how do these things happen? Yeah.
just a quick question. The blue line there, as far as I go around stat box, that represents the average, right?
That is your baseline. If you start out and have never played a match, that's 1,500. That's where you start from. The green line on here is 40-39. So if you want to look at what consistent looks like, that's pretty consistent. Now they've taken an uptick in the last couple of years, but they are pretty solid. If we could, what team do we want to be? We would want to be probably 40-39. Because I think their technology is achievable, but they are just solid, good team to try to model yourself after. That's who I would try to model myself after, is 40-39. And you can see they're always slightly above us. We can kind of get to their level sometimes, but they're just always at that level. So, less successful robots, 2020, 2022, 2024. It's almost like the Star Trek even odd theory of good movie, bad movie. And then good robots, 2018, 2019, 2023. So how does the same group of mentors go from good robot, bad robot, good robot, bad robot? So some examples from our history of what changes. 2020, the COVID year. We had a great year in 2019. We come back, we're going to take on the world, dominate, we're going to win world champions that year. But that year, our lead mentor did not participate with us that year. We had work action in the school. So we did not build at the school. We built at 772's shop on weekends. We still designed a super complicated robot thinking we can do it. We're going to do vision for the first time ever. We're going to do all these things. So our money was about the same. Our students were about the same. But all these things took a huge drop. But we built a more complicated robot. And the results showed it. So we lost significant resources, but we did not adjust at all. And that is how you get a bad robot. Okay? Or at least one of the ways you get a bad robot. And the robot performed pretty poorly on the field. We only went to one event because right after we did that event, everything shut down. The whole world shut down for 2 years. But not a good robot. 2022 comes along. We got almost the opposite effect from this. So we come back. So first year back after COVID, very few returning team members. Absolutely no programming experience. Our programming mentor, who was a teacher at the school, took a job at the board office. So he's no longer at the school. So we have no one on our team that's ever programmed a robot before. So what are we going to do? Our mentors all say, I don't know if this robot's going to drive. What are we going to do? We're going to build the simplest robot we can do. Okay? We're going to do a lot of stuff mechanically, but we don't know electrically what we can actually do. Now, ironically, I have an electrical background. I used to be a professional programmer. I'm not involved with programming robots at all. I only do strategy. So we designed a very simple robot, stuck to our manufacturing strengths, and we're terrified of the programming side of it. But really, nothing really changed a whole lot. We had a ton of money because there was nothing going on at the school other than robots. That was basically the only club that ran that year was the robot team. Our students went down a little bit, mentors. We lost a mentor, but everything else stayed the same. The result was we built a very low ceiling robot. And our programmers overachieved. They learned everything really fast and were able to program everything. But we built a low goal scoring robot that could climb. And it just had a ceiling of what it could actually do. Then 2024 comes along. We have a fantastic 2023. Again, we think we're going to take on the world in 2024. We come back. We book our schedule. We got to do Windsor, which is week 6. We don't want to compete on March break, and the schedule's not very good. So we do 3 weeks in a row. Week 5, week 6, week 7. No time to fix problems if anything comes up during competition. And because we don't compete until week 5, we got all kinds of time to figure this out. So we can build. We'll keep building right up until week 2 and then hand it over to programming. Okay? And as a result of that, we really don't have practice facility. we kind of ran out of time on everything. Our auto never worked well during the whole year. And we had all kinds of programming issues. And our robot just never performed well during the whole year. Now, this probably looks familiar. Great examples of low resource robots. And I'm calling this low resource. You guys were a rookie that year. And you've probably heard this said many times that this is the robot that everybody should have built in 2023. Because this dominated everywhere it went for a robot that was tank drive and could basically only do one thing, but scored like crazy, right? Excellent performance. So if you're not familiar with that game that year, this robot was fantastic and super simple, and everybody could have done this, but nobody did. Okay, there's only a couple teams around that did this. Firehawks were one of them, and they had fantastic success as a rookie team because of it. Last year, my favorite robot was this one, 5024, Raider Robotics. This is the one that I look at saying, this is what we tried to do, but they just did it way, way better. So no vision on this, okay? Not vision guided. They can only shoot from right here. They couldn't do the amp in their first competition. But this thing was super effective, okay? We could have easily built this robot. This is what we tried to do, and we failed at it. They did this perfectly. And this was a great robot for last year's game, okay? This is what everybody could have built last year. It's on Swerve Drive, but this was a fantastic robot. They got to playoffs at championships last year, okay? So this is what we should have done last year. This is when I look at it and said, we could have done that very easily. But we didn't. They did. Okay? So figuring out what you should have done during the season, not after the season, is the whole trick to this game. All right. Any questions before we move on to a robot building game? Good? All right. So we've got about 20 minutes left. So you have a second paper there. You can do this activity either with a partner or on your own. We are going to design a robot. Now, if you're a high resource team, you don't have to make design trade-offs. If you're everyone else, you do. Okay? So this is what we should be doing. Sometimes we don't. We just try to do everything and then figure out later that we shouldn't have done that. So some teams can do it all. Other teams need to be wiser in the use of their resources. We're going to design a robot to play the 2024 Crescendo game with a limited number of resources. How many people are not familiar with last year's game? So our rookie team, are you a little bit familiar with it? So I wrote down a description of it here. So basically there's two pieces. Well, there's only one piece. There's this game piece that you can pick up. It's called the note. You can score that either in something called an amp or a speaker. Speaker is up high, amp is down low. You can pick this up either off the floor or from a human player at a station that's about this high. There's a chain you can climb on at the end game. There's a thing called the trap, which you can score into in the end game as well, which is very difficult to do. Very few teams, maybe 2% of the teams, 2 or 3% of the teams are capable of doing that. There are many notes available in auto, but you have to pick them up off the floor to score them in the autonomous period. And for every 2 notes you score in the amp, you can amplify and score more points. It's like a scoring multiplier for ones you can score in the speaker. So there is benefit to being able to score in both areas, or at least have someone on your team that's capable of scoring in each. That's the breakdown of all the scores on each one. So what we're going to do is look at your sheet here and try to put together the best possible robot that you can. We're going to give you 75 points. That basically represents a day of your build season. Now, that's more days than there are in the build season, but let's assume you can do 2 different tasks at one time. So 75 points altogether. You need to pick something from each of these rows and write in its cost over here. Okay? Each of the options tells you what it is and how much it does for you. And then in brackets is how many resource points it costs you. So for example, if I said, I'm gonna pick the good swerve option, and that gives me 6 cycles per match, so I can go up and down the field 6 times if I pick that drive, that costs me 25 points. If I was to pick the Kitbot tank drive, that only costs me 5 points, but it can only do 3 cycles up and down the field, or somewhere in between. And write down the maximum cycles you get off of that over here. And then each other row here will have a cost and how it will impact your overall performance. So if you're picking up from the floor, but it's slow, that's going to cost you -1 cycle off what you can do. Or if you pick up from the floor and it's a touch it, own it type system, that's no negative. Picking up from human is going to cost you 2 extra cycles. Okay? So go through, write in your cost here, and write in how that impacts your amp cycles or speaker cycles. Now remember, if you choose no amp scoring, I'm not going to make an amp mechanism, you don't get any amp cycles. If you choose no speaker scoring, you don't get any speaker cycles, you just forget that. And we're going to look at what's the maximum number at the end of how many pieces could you possibly do in auto, how many possible could you do in amp and speaker, what's your maximum end game points, and your maximum failures per 10 matches. So you'll see things at the end here, like driver practice. How much resources are you going to spend on practice? Because that's going to earn you extra cycles. Reliability. How much time are you going to spend making your robot more reliable? One of our big issues last year was notes getting stuck on the robot because we didn't spend much time until later in the season making sure the notes couldn't get stuck on the robot. And we disabled ourselves in matches because a note would get stuck and then we're playing defense for the rest of the match. Typically in playoff matches was when that would happen. Vision. If you spend a lot of time on vision, we're going to say you can get anywhere from 1, 2, or 3 extra cycles per match with good vision, but it costs you more time. Okay, so what's the best combination you can come up with? Does the robot you built last year fit into one of these? Yes.
I have a question. I wasn't here, sorry, during the evaluating uses. I still want to do it because I think it's really interesting. Is it up to 5 in each category for the stage? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. I will put that back up on the screen. You can pick 1 through 5 on each of these. Tell me when you want me to change it. Yeah.
Question. For the truck part, right?
The track, yep.
If you're able to do track reliably, you can become chargers and just do all three tracks.
Yes, we'll say that. I actually made basically the Chargers robot on there. It actually, you can work it out without any practice.
Oh.
There was nothing left to do practice.
No, because I'm currently trying to make chargers robot, but with practice.
Oh.
I couldn't fit it in with practice. Good?
Yeah. We all have an interest.
Good?
Yeah.
me know when people are done here and want to share.
Thank you.
Tom made a 6-inch wide robot.
6 inches long, it's 53 inches wide.
That was not one of the options here.
Right. You were saying that the original 75 units applies to middle and lower resource students, and you're saying your upper resource students don't worry about
Yeah, I mean, you could change that number to play this game.
it. If you're a mid-resource team and the robot that you made would have cost more than 75 bucks, does that mean they're going to be out or?
I don't know. These are just arbitrary numbers.
Okay.
I thought it balanced out okay.
It's a pretty consistent, I like it.
You could tweak this to however you want to do it, or tweak it to whatever the game is this year.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, we had it,
Is this how you decided on the robots?
absolutely not. We had 2 of our students made this for the, they made it based off of the charged up
Okay,
robot.
yeah.
We played this game last year. They did this for us. I go back and look at what we should have done afterwards. That's one of the things I do.
Yeah, 5024 was one of those themes where you look at it and you're like, wow, they understood the assignment.
Yeah.
And then again, Firefox, they did the same thing with OK.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. Does anybody have a combination they want to share?
Sure, I will.
Yeah.
We're over budget.
What we tried to do is go back into our mindset. We didn't do this kind of exercise, so this is wonderful.
Okay.
This is a real great takeaway. But we tried to go back into our mindset as we were trying to make these decisions this past season.
Okay.
It's kind of hard because you can't exactly get into our mindset at that time. But we ended up with 90 points, so a little over budget. A few of the things kind of happened by accident, I would say. If I had to go back and say that we were going to try to level this out to bring it back to 75, which is what you would do responsibly.
Yeah. So what would you have to cut?
Yeah, that would be tricky, but it would probably fall into the category of the nice to haves or the bells and whistles, maybe vision, maybe autos. Autos seem to kind of take a hit first every time, because we do really kind of save those for at the end. And those 2 things in and of itself would have brought us to within our budget.
Okay. Could you do both amp and speaker?
Yes,
Okay.
we prioritized that pretty early.
Okay.
And
Shooting from distance on the speaker?
we didn't prioritize that.
Okay.
We ended up figuring that out as time went on, but initially we thought, let's just focus on scoring from the subwoofer.
Okay. And then you just save, did you go tank and save there?
Yes, that
Okay.
was already decided before.
Will your team continue to go tank?
It's yet to be seen.
Okay.
We're going through that waiting right now. We're just gearing up right now with the new team.
Because that's a real interesting question. Like for a team like yours that's had so much success with tank drive, the investment to try to go to swerve and what you would lose from that. Because one thing we really noticed that there's a lot of teams that do swerve and do it not well. And the rest of the robot really suffers because of it. Like it's a process to get there.
Yeah. You mentioned 4039 makeshift. They're the reason that this team exists. Our son was on that team for 6 years. And still, I guess he's mentoring now. But they were excellent guidance for us. We took a page from them on the swerve conversation, which is spend a lot of time off season and get real comfortable before you actually commit to it. So I would say that's the stage that we're discussing right now.
Okay.
How much time can we time in all of these other resources? How much can we devote to it?
All right. Who else has another combination? Yeah.
So we actually built 2 robots this year. We did one for season, one for CNE.
Okay,
We did that transition from tank to slurp,
okay,
which was interesting because how I put both on here, and we made sacrifices on areas to
okay,
commit to slurp. So our seasoned robot was over budget, got 100 points on this, or cost 100.
okay.
Our CNE robot was 75, so we're down budget.
Oh, really? Now, what did you give up on the CNE robot?
We gave up vision, gave up some reliability and practice.
Okay.
We had a lot of-
But you were able to still do both tasks?
So we focused just on shooting into speaker.
Okay.
Both robots, basically. Because we did some amp and our robot did not climb. We just canceled.
Okay. Yeah, our robot this year didn't climb at all. Our whole intent was to be able to climb, and then we had this dream of being able to go over the top and do the trap as well. And we were at like 124 without a climber on it. So it was like, so all this dream, everything was built around doing the trap, and it just, that was to the detriment of our entire robot operation.
Yeah, we also had, we also did like initial planning with if we're doing the trap, or are we gonna go with like saving more time for reliability and stuff. And it was a conversation that lasted for 1.5 weeks. And in the end, we decided to just go with reliability. And then if we do have time or someone do come with a genius idea of how to score the trap, then we go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the end, we didn't do trap.
In the last 2 years, we actually made a decision to go simple. So we stopped doing all the tasks. We just chose one task, do it well, build the robot as simple as possible. We used to build a lot of custom drivetrains. We just stopped doing that. We did kit drivetrain. We just buy it off the shelf and move forward.
And that's
try not to reinvent anything. Just reuse what anybody else started.
If you're a rookie team, I think that is the best advice you could probably give to a rookie team. It's just use what's already available to you and try to use your time wisely elsewhere.
We have a decade of building custom stuff that's been terrible. And then as soon as we switched to buy things off the shelf, in the last 2 years, we had pretty decent success with just off the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I tried to recreate a robot just adding slurp, and I put a lot of option trees, and I sacrificed I think trap vision and practice, which is what we didn't realize. Like we had very limited practice, we didn't do a lot of vision, we were super reliable, but I was really happy of how our team did this year because we tried so hard to delegate ourselves to like keep it simple, because in 2023 like our robot just did not work, so we had to do something too complex. But we've taken a big step to buy slurp this year, so it's been a bit scary just because like it's a very big investment. But we're hoping just to test run at CNE, we're doing like off-season events just to like, not see, sorry, STEMLink, just test it, see what works, see what doesn't, just so that like when the actual season gets, we can function. Yeah.
Good.
I also want to add to that, like it's like a lot of less experienced members may always want to make the robot like really complex, like all sorts of different functions, all sorts of things that they can do. But in the end, it's simplicity that's always the answer.
Yeah.
Because, for example, our 2023 robot, Krios, that was when our graph went from this to that. And so basically what happened was, initially we were planning a telescoping arm, and one of our programming members actually like even simulated it, like simulated the telescoping arm, right? And in the end, we didn't have time to do it. In the like we ended up with a stick, a literal stick that goes up and down to score the pieces on different levels. But it worked perfectly. It's perfect. With tuning and practice, it's perfect. Yeah.
One thing that I think was touched on earlier with the sort of discussion, doing something in the off season to understand it. I think we can all take a lesson out of that book when it comes to other mechanisms. So for example, our team was practicing turret now for the Southwest event. We're not entering that level at any other event because we're not super confident yet. We want to learn how to build a turret because we saw Team 2015 doing well this year. And previous years, we had the same turret over and over again. If we have a turret and it's a low shooting year, that might be beneficial because everyone's switching to it. Other things maybe we do an elevator or a double four-armed robot or something like that. These more complicated mechanisms, I would also recommend building one in the off season or make it out of wood and cardboard just to do a mock-up. Because, yeah, moving to Swerve is a 6-month problem.
Yeah, good. With 2 minutes left, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing was interesting is so the robot I built was basically just a speaker cycling robot with pretty much no vision. And I just try to get as much cycles I could possibly get because I was looking at it and I'm like, okay, I'm trying to maximize the amount of points I can score. So that came to 75 points. It had 8 speaker cycles and basically 1 attendant expected failure. So reliable score robot. That's not what we built. We built a robot that would have been 105 points because it was swerve. It was ground pickup. It was speaker scoring, amp scoring, climbing, kinda. It had auto vision, but like no. And we had practice, but also we were actually burnt out because we spent probably like easily every single day building on the robot, and we went to practice with it every single weekend. And some of the stuff didn't work. So like we probably would have done better if we didn't focus so much on the amp. We didn't focus on doing climbing.
Yeah.
We just did speaker, and I feel like that should have been like our focus for sure. And Swerve honestly was funny because we did not spend off-season doing it. When I joined the team, they were like, yeah, all the students really wanted to Swerve because they saw videos of it, and they had no idea how much tuning it was. And we did it in the season, and we took probably like 2 months to get it working. So,
Right.
yeah.
All right, I think that is all the time we have. So thank you all for attending. This was very good discussion, participation. Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Al. Appreciate it.
All right.
It's Al.
Yes.